Hi, Sheryl.
Hi.
What stood out about the character of the New York Liberty teams when you played against them at the Garden?
Who?
New
I didn't
York
hear the
Liberty?
beginning of your question.
Yeah, I'm doing a little retrospective on the New York Liberty team in year 25. And what stood out about the character of the New York Liberty teams when you played them at the Garden, especially the defense of Teaspoon and Vicki Johnson?
What stood out about the character of the New York Liberty teams in the early days in the Garden, especially defensive character of Teaspoon and BJ?
Well, I think when I look at the Liberty team back in the day and today, I would say, and I so don't mean this bad, the team back in the day brought some type of an edge, and with Spoon and VJ and Sophia, and even this one sitting next to me, and then Kim Hampton. I mean, so many of them. Sue Wicks. Like, you knew it was going to be a battle every single day. And not to say that this team doesn't bring that, because with Sabrina, obviously, and one of my favorite players that I enjoy watching this year is Benijah Laney. I think she's a phenomenal talent. But what those teams brought was just that competitive spirit of, we are about to kick your ass this game. They brought an attitude every single game, and you knew it was going to be some type of a battle. And with the team that I see today, one, I think they're very young, so I think they're still lacking that piece and that part of that Spoon brought every single day, and the leadership. That's what I think is probably the biggest difference in the team today versus the teams that we played against.
Thank you. And Rebecca, VJ said the Liberty practices were harder than the games. Can you expand on that? And as a rookie, did you get banged around a lot by your teammates in practice?
Yeah, I mean, every day I was going up against Sue Wicks, who had been playing multiple years overseas, who knew all the tricks of the trade. And I would get frustrated because I'm like, she got that rebound because she was holding me. Well, she learned that overseas and no one could see it. So yeah, she got that rebound. And after the first year, when Teresa Weatherspoon was named Defensive Player of the Year, I just remember anytime she was, and we would generally be on the same team together in practice, if she was defending the guard, she would just get right up on him and be like, DPY, I'm the DPY, and make them like attack the Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, the players on that team took things seriously, worked really hard, were super gritty, talked a little bit of trash. But yeah, it was fun. Not usually when the Comets came to town, although that's when we got our sellouts.
Man, those were great battles.
Those were great battles.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next question, Pepper Pursley. Pepper, go ahead.
Pepper.
Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Sheryl. It's so great to see both of you. And for starters, thank both of you for all that you've done for women's basketball. As a 10-year-old girl, it means so much that everything that you've done has paved the way for girls like me to now be able to see a WNBA. And I have two questions for you today. So first, what does it mean to you to see how much women's basketball has grown since 1996?
First of all, Pepper, I think you're pretty cool. I think you're the coolest interviewer I've ever had. But I don't know, it's such an incredible moment for me personally to be here and, 25 years later of the WNBA and celebrating being here with my former teammates on the 96 team. I think for us, when we set out on this, I call it a journey. I think we just always wanted to leave a path and make a way for so many young girls such as yourself to come up behind us and after us, and to know that you have so many more opportunities than we even had when the league first started. But to know that if you keep working hard and you keep playing and you keep believing and you keep striving, that the sky is the limit for you to be able to accomplish anything that you want to. And it's so great to still be sitting here 25 years later and talking about the success of the WNBA.
I love that so much. And then a second question, just what was the most fun aspect of winning gold in 1996?
Yeah.
I think something that was unique to that 96 team is that we trained for a full year before we went to that Olympics, and it was, a lot of it was a real grind. You know, get up in the morning, do conditioning, then go to practice, then lift weights, and then have another basketball session in the afternoon, and somewhere in there also doing media and community events. It was a real commitment, and there was a lot of it that was really hard. And so when we got to the Olympics and they were in the U.S. in Atlanta, there was this beauty of winning the gold medal together in front of fans from our country, but there was also this this acknowledgement amongst us of what we had been through, because there was a lot of it that was wonderful and there was a lot of it that's really hard, and some of the best rewards come when you've experienced a lot of really hard things together, and we did that year, and it just made all of it in a lot of ways a lot more special.
For sure.
All right, thank you. Our next two questions will come in order from Christy Winters-Scott and then Rafiq Louison. Christy?
Good evening, ladies. And I concur with what Pepper said about what you have done for the game. Just amazing and incredible. What was the best advice that each of you received when you were a first-time Olympian? And what kind of advice and things have you said to the current Olympic team?
Go for it.
Our 96 team went into the locker room a short bit ago and got a chance to say hello to the Olympians. Lisa Leslie was the one who spoke to them and just talked to them about the legacy. You know, you've got older players who pass things down to the younger players who, once they become older players, will pass it down, and just about what it means to represent your country, and what it means to compete, and what it means to kind of have that progression to go from a young player to a veteran on the team. The best piece of advice I think I got was actually from my college coach during that year where we were training. When things would get really hard, sometimes I would call him for advice, and he would, no matter what I was going through, he would say, just remember that at the end of this, you'll be an Olympian. At the end of this, you'll be a gold medalist. And that always trumped whatever the hardship was that any of us could have been going through.
Yeah. Hey, Christy, I think for me, in addition to what Rebecca said about, you know, being an Olympian, just to be able to always have that title of being an Olympian it's pretty special. But I think for me, the best piece of advice I got was probably two things. And it was, one, just to enjoy the moment, right? Because not many people get to be in the Olympics and playing alongside some phenomenal talent. So to enjoy the moment, but then also not to be afraid of the moment. And, you know, and I think when you're one of the younger players on the team, it's real easy to kind of sit back, you know, and say, well, I'm young, and let everyone else kind of do the work. But I had to honestly remind myself that you are here for a reason. Even though, as Rebecca talked about earlier to Pepper's question, there were days where I was like, nah, I can't do this. Like, I can't get through this. But then I had to remind myself that you were chosen and you were handpicked for a reason. You're supposed to be here. You belong here. So that was some of the best advice I had. And in addition to what Lisa said to the team as far as advice that we would give them, you know, there's a lot of first timers on this Olympic team and some young players. And then you have Sue and Diana, who great leadership. The only thing I said was you have a great leader in Dawn Staley, who's been there, done that as a player, has several gold medals as a player, and now it's time for her to have a gold medal as a head coach. And just to go get it done. You know, we have Sue and Diana who've been there and they're leading the way. I mean, there's honestly not much to be said because I'm sure Dawn had said it, they've said it, and they understand what this moment means.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Our next question will come from Rafiq.
This is Rafiq with Nothing But That Sports Talk. It's an honor to be able to speak with you guys today. I just want to know, this is a question for Rebecca Lobo, like, how this year Benigna Lane is going to be taking part in the All-Star game. Like, how important is it to always have any New York Liberty, like right after your time, taking part in the All-Star games?
Ron, my volume wasn't very high. Did you hear the question?
You ask about the Nigel Laney, like how important is it to always have a New York Liberty player on an all-star team, I think.
Yeah,
Well, I just think it's exciting anytime you see the first-time All-Stars, you know, because that's the next generation of players that, yeah.
Sorry.
All right, bear with us a moment, folks.
sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Another.
Can you hear me?
Roughly, we can hear you. All right, go ahead. We're going to try that one more time, if you would, please.
Want me to try one more time?
Yes, please,
Okay.
Rebecca.
It just kind of the first time All-Stars, and I think we have 7 on the All-Star team, right, and 1 on the Olympic team. That's also a first time All-Star. So it's exciting to see kind of this next generation of players coming along, and Benigna certainly would be one of them. Especially she has the most incredible story, or one of the more incredible stories in this league. You know, cut last season to a most improved player to now doing what she's doing for the Liberty is pretty spectacular. So you know, of course, it's always great to have representation from a variety of teams, including the New York Liberty. But you know, I just enjoy watching these first-time All-Stars because you never know who's going to show out. You know, none of us expected Erica Wheeler to be the MVP of the All-Star game a couple of years ago. So what's going to happen tonight, I don't know, but it's going to be fun to watch.
And a follow-up question, like, how much have you enjoyed being able to be in the broadcast booth for ESPN while covering the WNBA, including the All-Star games?
That one. I didn't hear that.
Can you repeat that for me? I'm sorry, and talk a little bit louder.
How much have you enjoyed doing the WNBA All-Star game?
I got you.
Without the
I got
attitude?
you.
No,
I
I'm
know.
kidding.
It's Ron's fault. It's not your fault. It's not ours. How much have I enjoyed covering it? I love it. I love it. And I love the WNBA draft because you're there on a day when dreams come true. And then I love the All-Star game because it's just this fun format where everyone can just go out and show what they can do as a player. So I have a blast. I get a great seat, and especially in a game like today where it's just, all about fun.
I apologize for the sound problems. I apologize.
Just kidding.
Cheryl's 50 and she doesn't care, so
You told me to yell, you couldn't hear me, so I yell, and now you say I got attitude.
All right, we're going to let Sheryl take over the moderating from now on.
No, not at all.
Sheryl has said that our next question will come from Takeshi. Takeshi, go ahead.
Hello, ladies.
All right, Takeshi, start. We're in laugh mode. We're going to start that question.
I think you're listening
Takeshi,
to me.
ahead.
So my question is about the game against Japan, Team Japan in 1996. I think you guys played in the quarterfinals against our Team Japan. I'm calling from Tokyo, Japan. So and it was a very competitive game. It was like a 108 to 93, very high scoring, competitive game. So what do you remember about that game?
I'm laughing because, again, as Rebecca said, I'm 50, so I can barely remember what happened yesterday. Here's what I will say, and it's not necessarily about that particular game, is the Japanese players have always been talented. Their style of play, the way they play, and it takes some time to get used to learning how and understanding how to defend them. They're always very offensive minded. I think lots of times you tend to think because it's USA basketball and, we have height and things like that, that it's going to be an easy task. But when you're talking about on the world stage, regardless of whether it's world championships, the Olympics, you always know that other countries are going to bring their best. They're going to give their best every single day, and you have to be ready to play. And the fact that it was such a high scoring game, I don't think it takes away from either team. I think what it says is that both teams are very offensive minded and played very little defense in that particular game. But both teams were very capable of scoring and putting up a lot of shots, obviously.
I don't remember that specific game, but I'll echo the fact I never liked playing against the Japanese teams, mostly because their 5 players, which is what I was defending, could step out and hit threes and drive. And that was not my strongest defensive skill set.
Well, it was almost like all 5 players are always interchangeable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not your typical 3 out, 2 in. It was more of like a 5 out, and you're having to, not just Rebecca, that's all of us. Like, you're having to learn to defend a different style of play. And so that's what I think has always kind of been one of the biggest challenges that we had to face in international competition.